Namaste and welcome to Kaivalya Yoga Gurukulam, or KYG as we all know it. Thank you for taking time to attending this class. As always, it gives me great privilege. I consider it a great honor to be sharing some of this ancient wisdom with you all. So thank you for allowing us into your home and giving us your valuable time. In today's class, we shall begin learning about the fifth element. For the last several months, we have been covering the 5 elements, just about scratching the surface of each element, understanding all aspects of each of those elements. And today, we shall launch the 5th element, the learning of the 5th element. And that is the space element. As always, all of these learnings are done with acute mindfulness and reverence, and with an attitude of open-mindedness, willing to listen to some of these ideas that has helped and guided people for many, many, many hundreds of years. And therefore, let us start this learning, as always, with 3 ohms. I offer my most grateful salutations to the divine aspect of Shiva known as Nataraja. Today's class, in one sense, is going to be straightforward introduction. In another sense, it might be a heavy class, full of information. But nevertheless, I want to take you all to South India, to this beautiful, amazing temple that is called the Tillai Nataraja Temple in Chidambaram, south of India. The temple is situated in about 50 acres of property, and the walls that surround the temples are like a fort. They are almost 2 feet wide all around the temple. It is a very huge temple, but the power and the amount of smaller temples within that main temple is incredible. And each of them carry very powerful and holy vibrations. In all these temples, I had the privilege of getting the Kaivalya Lingam, the crystal lingam that originally came from Nepal, blessed from the Pashupatinath temple. I had the privilege of getting all of them blessed, but when I came to Chidambaram, they said we cannot bless anything at the main shrine. However, they allowed me. They placed the lingam and gave it all the honors at a shrine dedicated to Patanjali's yoga lingam, where Patanjali did tapas and penance. There's a special shrine for him there. And so the priest who was taking me around to the temple took me to that and said, while I cannot get your lingam blessed all the way up there in the main shrine, please bring the Kaivalya lingam here and get it blessed here. I did not tell him I practice yoga or anything. He just felt guided, and there I was among the many shrines that he could have taken me. He took me to Patanjali. He said, this is where Patanjali yogi did tapas. And for those of us into yoga, we know how blessed that is. And so I considered that visit to the temple, my stay there for a couple of days, doubly blessed. I spent hours at different locations in very heightened awareness. So what I want to share with you today is, firstly, the temple and its surrounding. I just want you to experience with a simple, soft music, a meditative music. We go around the temple, at least to the extent I was allowed to videograph. A gentle walk, which is about a 7-minute video. And then we'll come back. And then I was so inspired to share my thoughts on Akasha, the element Akasha, the element of space, at the steps there of the holy tank, the water tank, a huge water tank, very divine place. It was early in the morning, and words just kept flowing. I just couldn't stop, and so I recorded as it came, with of course a couple of small interruptions because people were coming up to me or something like that. But other than that, thoughts were coming at a furious pace. So all I did was speak everything I knew at that point, because I knew that was a holy place, and I wanted these words of mine to be recorded there in the presence of that holy space. So today will be 2 videos, literally. One, a small clip of the surroundings of the temple, where we'll just pay our homage and pay our reverential salutations to that divine portal there. That's how I approach these subjects, and I urge you to keep an open mind and just go through the temple. It's a virtual walk, if you will. Let's do that, and then we'll go to the next video.
Shivaya, Namah Shivaya, Namah Shivaya. Shivaya, Namah Shivaya, Namah Shivaya. Namah Shivaya, Namah Shivaya. Namah Shivaya, Namah Shivaya. Namah Shivaya, Namah Shivaya, Namah Shivaya. Namah Shivaya, Namah Shivaya, Namah Shivaya.
Get to see the southern tower from this spot. You get to see the western tower from this spot. And then you go past this temple and then you get to see the northern tower over in that spot. And finally you get to see the silhouette of the eastern tower. Since the sun is rising, you really can't see the colors. This is the holy pillar here, dedicated to there's a portal here. They say you stand here and you get to see all the 4 towers marking the territory of this temple. So it's almost like you can be in all the places. From here you can meditate on how vast this temple is and pay your tribute to the divine energies at this temple. So it's a great place to be, and fortunately it's quiet in this section of the temple. So I just thought I should point this out. This has been in place again for centuries to mark this spot. I hope you liked that experience of the virtual walk around the temple, because no cameras, no videography is allowed inside the temple. And inside the temple again is very, very huge, and one easily gets lost. So when I go to these big places, I usually take at least 2 days, the first day to get lost, if you will, running from shrine to shrine, and then taking the evening or the second full day to enjoy it. Now that I know my way through the maze of these shrines, I begin to then enjoy. This was the 3rd morning actually. So I really knew the temple in and out. And so it was an amazing experience being in that spot. It is believed that the very concept of space emerged from that portal. It is very hard to digest as a matter of belief or faith, but that's what the core belief of that temple is. Because all the elements are discovered or understood at certain portals, but here the very container for entire creation as we know it, it is said has found its origin at this place. And so it is a very beautiful place. It's a very powerful portal. One is drawn to deep meditation, and one very easily, that's been my experience, experience a sense of expansion almost effortlessly. Irrespective of people around and noise, if you will, around, all that suddenly seems to fade into insignificance. So I spent that couple of days at that temple praying and seeking guidance so that I will be able to begin sharing in all humility about this element, the space element, of which we know very little. And then the next morning I was guided as I walked around, and there is a temple tank to which we will go now. And that was very quiet, except for 1 or 2 was having their dip in the morning, and some sadhus or saints were there. And so other than that, it was just me. It was a very quiet morning, fortunately. And so that's where the divine guided me to share these thoughts. Now, this will be a long video, and we'll perhaps have to close the session after this, but from the next class, I will take the points that I discussed here. We'll break it down into segments, and we'll discuss this more in detail with a little more clarification, so that we all begin to understand and not feel that there's so much information dumped at one time. But I wanted to share that experience with you, how it was with just sitting there and just speaking into a camera. All I was tuned in was that energy, and it was an amazing experience. But nevertheless, I spent very little time listening to it, so I'm going to listen to it along with you all, and hopefully you will find this information useful. So Shravana, let's simply listen. Then in the next classes and on, we'll do the manana, we'll dissect it, analyze it, check out what are the varieties of practices that we can adopt, like we did with all the other elements. And then we'll do the nididhyasana when we begin to assimilate it into everyday practice. So let's once again go to that temple, the temple tank. This temple is dedicated to the space element of Shiva, the dancing Shiva. The history of this temple, who built this temple, is something you can Google. Again, I'm not going to repeat those things which I get to read from internet. It is believed, as I spoke to some of the priests here, that nobody really knows who established the inner sanctum sanctorum of this temple. It dates back to the beginning of creation itself. The concept of dancing Shiva, the concept of Nataraja, actually took birth in this very place. So it is such a great honor to be here and to be sharing thoughts of yogic wisdom that emanated from this very spot. This temple also is known and was made famous by Tirumular, a great Siddha yogi. He practiced what is called the Shiva Yoga, Chiva Yoga as he calls it, Chiva Yoga. And he wrote a yogic text, a compendium of about 4,000 verses or so. And he is said to have lived many, many centuries to have been able to complete this. And this yogic text is a very detailed understanding of the yogic sciences, of our body, of our breath, of the pranas, of how many bodies do we have and how we can convert this very body into a divine body so that divinity can express itself through this body. It's a lifetime, well, let me correct myself, it's many lifetimes of learning that particular text. When I say learning, it's not just reading and memorizing it, but actually applying it and experiencing what is said in those texts by Tirumular, known as the Tiru Mandiram. He was a great devotee of Chidambaram, of the Nataraja. Nataraja is the king of dances. So, this is that temple. Why is dance and space? What is the relation between dance and space? And why is Shiva, who is supposed to be seated in meditation, still in Kailasa, now suddenly dancing? What could be the symbolism between the dancing Shiva and creation and all of that? Well, let's first take the concept of the dancing Shiva itself, and I'll share with you how it's made sense to me. Among all the fine arts, dancing is one art where the dancer, where the art and the artist cannot be separated. You cannot separate the art from the artist, unlike what you can do in a painting. Once the artist does the painting, you can take the painting away from the artist. You can say, you know what, I don't like the painter, but I like his work. And therefore you can take the painting away. Singing, you can record the singing, take just the voice away. You can memorize the voice and listen to the voice. And you don't have to have the singer. And so on. If somebody is good in cooking, you can just taste the meals and not worry about the cook, right? But in a dance, it is strange because in a dance, you cannot separate the dance from the dancer. You cannot say, I don't like the dancer, but I like his dance. I don't like the dancer, but I like her dance. So you can't just take her or his dance away. If you want the dance, the dancer has to be there. In other words, the art itself is in performance. When a dancer is dancing, it's called a dance. The moment he stops, there is no art. Right? And therefore, The creation here is the dance of Shiva. The dancing Viuli masters, if you will, Viuli, I'm not sure. I think it was by Fritjof Capra. I remember reading some of it in the 80s sometime. The dancing Viuli masters. The dance of the atoms and molecules. And once the dance, which was chaotic, becomes into harmony, it becomes a powerful rhythm. Just like we harness the energies of the water, energies of wind, energies of fire, and bring it and awaken the inherent energies within them by harnessing. So to dance in the cosmic creation, the cosmic dancer dances and harmonizes the atoms and molecules into what you see around creation. So if this is the creation, is this dance, if you and I are part of the dance, where is the dancer? Here, in the dance. That is the most powerful thing about Nataraja, the dancing Shiva. The dancer is not separate from the dance. So you and I are part of the dance, are part of Shiva. Maybe a little strand from the lock of his hair, or a little string from the drum, the vibrations of sound that he creates with the drum. I mean all of this symbolically, correct? So all of us, every atom and molecule in this universe is part of the dance of that one cosmic consciousness. This is the core of the Kaivalya belief. This is the core of Kaivalya, oneness. There is one cosmic consciousness that has become all of this. There is one dance that is happening. That is never begun, will never end. That is the dance of Shiva. Never begins, never ends. There is stillness in that dance. There is rhythm in that dance. There is movement in that dance. Whatever you want to see in the dance, you will see it. There is chaos in that dance. There is signs in that dance. There is healing in that dance. There is magic in that dance. There is beauty in that dance. Every aspect of your imagination, however vague and wild it is in the dance. It's all one dance. There is no difference. It's not a separate dance. And in that oneness, we experience the Shiva consciousness. The whole practice of yoga, the whole practice of spirituality, in my opinion, the whole search for this God principle, the search for this eternal happiness, is all understanding and experiencing this dancer. Knowing that you are part of the dance. I am part of the dance. As rays of the sun, we get absorbed into the sun. We come from the sun, we get absorbed into the sun. Are we different from the sun? Well, we are rays of the sun. We have all the qualities of the sun. We are not sun, but we have the capacity to go back home. Some people coming, so let me pause here for a second and continue. Sorry for that interruption. I got interrupted by a few people who want to know what this camera is all about and why it's so tiny. Anyway, where is the space element? The space element in our body lies in this part above the chest. This is the wind element. This is the fire element. Below that is the water element, and below that is the earth element. The space element is in the region of the throat. There are two organs that are associated with the space element. The organ of hearing, that is your ears, that is called the organ of perception, jnana indriyas, shravana, the sense of hearing, and the sense of speaking, sense organ, mouth, the organ of action. So your mouth and ears, that are associated with space. Now you see, when it comes to space, these two organs, the organ of action and organ of intelligence, is so close. In earth, it is nose and anus. In water, it is sexual organ and the tongue. In fire, it's eyes and feet. They are all far, far apart. Just something for us to contemplate and meditate upon. In the wind, it is sense of touch and skin. So your hands and your sense of touch. And then finally in space, it is ears and mouth. So when you take the cell phone, you know that you are, what you listen and what you speak is the space element. You're activating the space element. Now this is a very, very important thing to understand in our yogic practices, in our yogic sadhana, in our ability to manifest meditation and awaken the consciousness. The more subtler these elements are, the more powerful they are. The subtlest of all the 5 elements, earth, water, fire, air and space, the subtlest of all is space, and therefore the most powerful. The vastness of space. Yesterday when I was at the temple, and it's a huge temple by the way, and there are so many little temples within that. Each of those places was so powerful that at the end my body was shivering of just nervous. I was nervous. And finally when I stood in front of the Nataraja in the inner sanctum sanctorum, the priest said, stand as long as you want. Take your own time. Stand as long as you want. And he walked away. And of course there were others, and that's a very crowded place. And therefore, and I sat and I was standing and I saw the Nataraja statue in a magnificent dancing form. My whole body was shaking. I was so nervous because it was almost like I'm standing in front of a cosmic form. It reminded me of my first interview with my Sadguru, Bhagwan Sri Satya Sai Baba. When I was alone with him, I was so nervous. What would he ask? What can I tell him? What can I speak? That same nervousness, if not more, was what I experienced. Being in the presence of a mighty power, mighty power. And it suddenly opened my heart, and my whole everything just burst open. And as I went and I meditated later in the evening, the objectives of KYG became so clear, written in space, in the sky as you will, in the space of my consciousness. Revive the 4 Vedas. Help in re-establishing these temples, revive the ancient traditions and the rituals. Why? Because the mantras, the chants that are done in these temples, it's my belief again, is what holds this earth in one piece today. Because what happens is in space, whatever, so when we talk of creation, finally there's earth that you see around, you have matter to touch, right? You have a body that you can feel. Where does all this begin? At the subtlest level, you need a container to contain creation. So the first container that comes out of pure vibrational consciousness, spandam it is called, there's a vibration, and that vibration, and some other day we will understand this and study a little more. I don't want to get too technical about it. Not that I know about these things, but I'll share my perspectives on how I have understood Sankhya philosophy and Shaiva Siddhanta and the Gorakhnath's Siddha Siddhanta Paddhati, Siddhanta Paddhati and all of them. They all explain cosmology more or less in the same way. There are little nuances, but we'll take that as a technical study some other time. But at this point, they all agree to one thing, that space was the first container, and that space itself comes from the dance of Shiva. Once he begins to dance, space comes in. When I say he begins to dance, in other words, when there is movement, when there is vibration, spanda, a little vibration happens, and then space comes in. And once space comes in, air, fire, water, finally crystallizing, all of that falls in place. Now, did this happen at one point in time? Let me put it this way. It happens every moment. Where? In us. If my reality, and I'm going to apply this to us, because there's no point debating what happened in creation and when it began with the Big Bang or the Om and all of that. Let's leave that. Because that's theory, right? That's the theory, and you can always debate upon it forever without coming to a conclusion. However, how does that apply to me in my practice of yoga? Okay, today I have to pay bills, I have a boss I don't like, or I'm in a relationship I am not very comfortable with, or I am surrounded by wealth and abundance. So if I want to tweak this reality around me, what can I do? How does this knowledge help me? This is the secret of what I'm going to share with you. This space, this temple shared that secret with us. This is how Tirumandiram was written. This is where the yogic wisdom has its energy and power. And so listen to me with an open mind and meditate upon that. Not just in 1 or 2 sessions, but meditate upon this for a long, long time. It's like this. In my life, the reality around me, like this temple around me right now as I'm sitting, is what is the manifested reality. Concrete reality. That's what we call, let's come to the real world. Let's talk reality. Correct? So this is also real to some extent. This is the manifestation. Where did this begin in my life, my wife, my job, my circumstances, my lifestyle, where I am today? Where does all this begin? It began in my space. In my space, every moment, the thoughts that I nurture, the sounds that I create, the sounds that I listen to, and the sounds that come out of my mouth, the sounds that go in and the sounds that come out. Pay attention here. The sounds that go in and the sounds that come out constantly create a vibrational pattern. The general theme of the sound, general undercurrent of the sounds that go in and come out, creates a vibrational pattern. Then my breathing gives energy to that. Vayu gives energy. Think of it like this. When I think of something peaceful, my breath becomes calm and maintains that peaceful thought. The rhythm of the breath controls the rhythm of the thoughts. In other words, that sound is now getting manifested in a peaceful way. Similarly, if there's a thought of anger or jealousy or emotional outburst, my breathing patterns changes. The vayu in me begins to fan, and then fire is created. The same wind that can blow out a candle can fan a forest fire, correct? So the wind nurtures this thought. Then as it gets nurtured and emotion comes in, then vision, the thought begins to manifest in the form of a vision. And then the senses come into action and makes that vision slowly manifest into reality. That's the truth. So if I am in a situation in life, if I am in whatever I see around me, let me put it this way, whatever I see around me, whatever people I have attracted into my life, whatever job I have attracted into my life, whatever reality I have attracted into my life, be it abundance or poverty, health or sickness, know that I have created it. I have created it. And I'm not saying I as ego, but the I in me. Why? Because the sounds, the vibrations in space is what is the beginning of creation. Manifests slowly and materializes as matter. The combination of atoms and molecules begins with the dance of the thought patterns, the dance of the sound vibrations. So it is so very important as a practitioner of yoga, as a spiritual aspirant, as somebody in the path of spirituality and self-discovery, to be very mindful of what sounds go into my ear, what sounds come out of my mouth, and what are those sounds that I constantly nurture as thoughts. This space finds its way all the way down into the earth. So there are thoughts which are deep and unconscious, as an unconscious thought. You don't see them. You don't even know they exist. Para. Then there is Pashyanti. There is a sound that is existing in the form of feelings and emotions, like love, for example. It's not a thought. it's not even an emotion. I mean, yeah, love, mother-child love and husband-wife love and romantic love, those are considered emotions. But when you see something like, wow, and there is instant love, that emotion, let's use the word emotion for now, but it's not really emotion. It's called pashyanti. It's a thought, but it's not a thought yet. It's not got a word yet. It's not got an image as yet. Para, pashyanti, madhyama. Then the third stage of that sound comes. It becomes a thought. And then vaikari, this actual sound manifesting through your mouth. And then there is matruka. There is a sound which is pure bijakshara. That is the fifth level of sound as per Siddhanta of Gorakhnath. He talks as a fifth sound. So there is a sound that exists in your unconscious mind. There is a sound that exists in the form of deep emotions like love and prayer and faith. Like in the deep innermost sanctum sanctorum, as I stood yesterday in front of Nataraja, I was just watching him, and there was some feeling, but I can't put words to it. It was not even feeling. It was an experience of expansion, if you will. Like I'm trying to put words again, right? But that you can't put words to that. Okay? And then it comes in the form of thoughts, prayers, expressions. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. And then the word expresses itself. Om Shivaya Namaha, Namah Shivaya, Om Namah Shivaya, Shivaya Namaha, Shivaya Namaha, Shivaya Namaha, Om Namah Shivaya, Shivaya Namaha, Shivaya Namaha, Shivaya Namaha, Shivaya Namaha. If I constantly create these sound vibrations of Shiva, 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 Shiva. Shiva means auspiciousness. Shiva means celebration. Shiva means going beyond death, being immortal. That's why you worship. He is seated on the graveyard. He said, what you call the end, I call it the beginning. So where the flesh ends, the spirit begins. And therefore, the sound is what manifests itself in space and then begins to materialize into what you and I call reality, into this what the senses can perceive, the senses can understand, and the senses can relate to. So it is in this context that the Vedic mantras that are being chanted and that should be chanted, that should be encouraged in every household, in every individual's mind, every family, every community, is because these mantras, which only say bring prosperity, bring abundance, bring wealth, bring happiness, bring joy, bring togetherness, and may the Brahman, samasta loka sukhino bhavantu, may all the beings in all the worlds be happy. This is the undercurrent of all the Vedic mantras. Whether it is swastino indra vidrashravaha or bhadram karne vishruniyam devaha and all of that, all of those Shanti mantras, all of the Vedic mantras, powerful chants like the Rudram, all of them manifest into this beautiful harmonizing effect. So the more we chant it individually, as a family, as a group, as a nation, as a community, the more harmonizing vibrations are created, healing vibrations are created, and they begin to manifest. Let me pause here for a second and continue. So I sat in one place for too long and I thought I'll change the space. So we have the northern Gopuram, that's north. I'm kind of facing south and east. So this is the energy of the space element. In our practice, if the sounds that you create in your everyday, while you're driving, ask yourself and observe what are the sounds that you are creating in your mind, what are the thoughts that you are indulged in. And that explains where your consciousness is. If my thoughts are constantly about where to eat, what to do, what taste and so on, as we discussed when we learned the water element, then the consciousness is trapped in the water element. If my thoughts are constantly about bills to pay and all of that, then I am trapped. It's about security and how to survive and that kind of fear-based thoughts, then those about health and so on. And so those are all caught up in the earth element. If the thoughts are about emotions, either anger, jealousy, love, hatred, all of that, positive, negative, all of that, then it is caught in the region of the fire and the wind. Because these, from emotions to, yes, I mean, it's... if my thoughts are about emotions, about love, hatred, jealousy, good emotions, bad emotions, all of that, right? Again, they're all about the fire element. Then the wind is racing syndrome. If I think too fast, if I'm just impulsive in my thoughts, then my wind element. In space, there is expansion, expansive thoughts, thoughts of oneness, thoughts of giving, thoughts. That's why the sannyasi, the mendicant, the monk, the yogi doesn't think of himself in the sense of survival or food or relationships or what to do next and all of that. He is just free. He experiences the Shiva consciousness. He experiences the space. He is like, I am all of this. All of this is an expression of me. What am I going to take? Where am I going to take? What am I going to give? Whom am I going to give? That is philosophy. But when you begin to apply that in your everyday life, you become selfless automatically. You don't make up your mind to become selfless. You don't make up your mind to, or you don't set a goal of enlightenment. It just happens. And as long as you engage in this ever-expanding space, because space has no limit, no limit, no limit, no limit, no limit. And when your consciousness reaches space, then it just expands, 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 bringing in everybody, everything, embracing in that one divine dance of Shiva. Understand everything as one divine dance of Shiva. Every event in your life, his rhythm. And when your eye slowly merges into this cosmic rhythms, then that experience of expansion is what blesses you with the state of yoga. The silent rhythms of my body, the breath, the pulse, the rhythm of my thoughts, merge with the rhythms of the earth, the day and night cycle, the ebb and flow of the waves, the cyclical seasons, the rotation of planets around the sun. So now you expand from the rhythms of the body to the rhythms of the earth to the rhythms of the universe, the birth and death of stars and galaxies. All of this is a rhythm. Your inhalation and exhalation is a small, miniature, minuscule representation of that cosmic dance of Shiva. The cosmic rhythm. Everything in this universe is a rhythm. In other words, it's not here to stay, it moves. So this earth that seems so solid is just a rhythm. So the reality around you is a rhythm. You can change your reality. You can control your health. You can control the circumstances of your life. Not from any of the lower chakras, but from the space. When you understand the magic of sound. If there is a magic to it, this is it. The sound patterns of your thoughts. The quality of sounds that come out of your mouth. Pay attention, be mindful of every word you speak. I have been with people who almost impulsively, every word they say, oh, enak bayamarka. I'm talking in Tamil here. They say, I'm afraid. Oh, there's so much traffic, to cross the road, enak bayamarka. So they repeat the word bhayam or fear. I'm afraid to cross the road, I'm afraid to talk to people, oh my God, there is so much violence in the world, I'm afraid to travel, I'm afraid to do this, afraid to do that, oh, I'm afraid to buy something and eat raw, I'm afraid to cook and eat too much, Oh, I laughed too much, I'm afraid I might be crying tomorrow. Afraid. They speak like that, right? I actually met people who do that. So when there is so much of the word fear manifests in your word so many times in a day, what's going to happen? What kind of reality do you think will be around you? You're going to create circumstances that will keep you in the state of fear. You're either going to be afraid of falling sick or something. You know what I'm saying now. It is the same thing with this guy is bad, that guy is bad, the world is coming to an end, the violence everywhere. If you talk of violence, then that vibrational pattern of violence that you are generating in your space, in your consciousness will finally manifest in your life and will manifest in some form of violence, maybe an incessant cough, maybe sickness, maybe whatever it is. Think about that. And therefore it is said that merely with sounds you can change reality. So when I say this, you're going to jump and say, okay, then there is so much Vedic chants being done. Why isn't the world peaceful? I'm doing so much chant. Why am I not getting healthy? If I do Dhanvantri mantra, can I become healthy? Or if I say Om Shreem 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 Shreem, why is wealth not coming? The word Shreem can actually manifest wealth in your life. Whatever wealth you want. Wealth in the form of talent, wealth in the form of hard money, anything you want. Here is why it's not happening. If this mantras that you chant is just one of those from the millions of other sounds that generate from your mouth and gets lost in the millions of junk sounds that goes into your ear the rest of the day, then there is no energy of this sound to manifest. There is no energy. What is fueling this energy? I have again met people, I have listened to them, I have sat with them, and as I was young especially, and that was one of the reasons why initially I got very disillusioned with all these rituals and mantras. I'm like, this is crazy, this is not going to work. Because they will be chanting Gayatri, holding this thread like this. Om Bhurbo Satatsadarana Om Bhurbo Satatsadarana. They'll look around, they'll be reading newspaper, or they'll be dusting the house, or they'll be driving and say, I do my Gayatri while driving, I do my Gayatri while doing this, I chant this mantra while I'm doing this, as if it's a pastime, it's by the side. Now those things, they will give effect, but the effectiveness of that mantra is reduced to probably 5% of what it is actually capable of, 1 or 2% I would say, of what it is actually capable of. When you are mindful, when you understand the annotations of the mantra, when you understand the meaning of the mantra, when you understand the sound energy and you chant it, it's a lot more powerful. Then when you respect sound itself, because that is the main thing, respect sound. Respect sound. In other words, be mindful of the sound. How loose we are when we talk. How loose we are when we keep on cursing everywhere, and then suddenly we realize, I want to do the chant. Then other than a momentary, fleeting glimpse of peace, you're not going to get anything else. So all these mantras that are chanted gets vaporized into nothingness, because either the practitioners or the community or the individuals, we all do not respect sound anymore. It is so difficult to find a quiet place. Even when I come to a temple like this, it breaks my heart to see people just engaging in crazy conversations. I just passed by somebody listening to film music. It's at 6:30 in the morning. So, not that these are bad or good. I'm just saying, why is sound? There is no respect to sound. And especially today with WhatsApp and televisions and all of that, we listen and see every video that has to come, every sound. Look, this guy is comedy, laugh at it, this is crying, this is violence. We are putting junk in our space, junk in our consciousness. What do you think will manifest in your life? If space is filled with junk, it's going to find its way finally in your life as some kind of chaos or the other. It could be a chaotic relationship, it could be chaos in your work, it could be poverty, it could be sickness, it could be something. So individuals, families, groups, nations, communities, because of the sound, the lack of mindfulness in the sound element, this reality that you and I see around is created by us. I am responsible for being part of this reality. And therefore, by changing the quality of sounds that I entertain in my space, it's my space. I have to be careful what sounds enter, who speaks to me and what they speak to me. If I don't like a conversation, I can't tune into a conversation. Rather than sitting and judging that conversation as bad, I just move away. Because I can't tune in, that's all. I don't tune into that conversation. I move away. I don't want the sounds to disturb my space. I nurture the sounds I want in my space, and those sounds beautifully find manifestation. My dear brothers, sisters, friends, this is the truth of yoga. And this temple is the place that you come here to understand that. And that is why in this temple, the presence of this temple, I spoke aloud the 3 objectives of Kaivalya Yoga Gurukulam. This is what I want to do in my life. This is the legacy I want to leave behind. And you can join me. It's not my work. We are all in it together. We can create a fantastic future for our children, for ourselves, if only we are mindful of all these 5 elements. And if we are mindful, especially of the sounds that go out of the mouth and the sounds that come in, be very, very particular about what kind of TV that you watch, because those are all sounds that are coming into your system. You are entertaining those sounds. Spirituality is neither difficult nor easy. We feel it is difficult because we have complicated our lives. And therefore, oh no, I love that TV serial, like I want action, I want all the sound, I want all of that. So be it, then allow it to happen and live with those consequences. And don't sit back and blame at when you're 50 and 60 that I'm sick or I'm doing this or I'm doing that and why this has happened to me, there's no God out there and all of that. The point is that what sounds emanate from your mouth is so very, very, very important. So that is about the space element. Being in the throat, the mouth and the ear are associated with the space element. So in your meditations, please make it a point to become mindful of the sound waves that generate in your space, the sound waves that you nurture, and allow that sound to manifest slowly. So the Namasmarana, chanting the name constantly again and again and again and again, will manifest the qualities of that name. May this powerful dancing energy of Shiva guide us and allow us and teach us to step into his cosmic rhythms rather than try to figure out this dance on our own. Merge the individual rhythms of the breath, the pulse, the thought, the feeling into the cosmic rhythms of Shiva. Expand the consciousness into ever-widening thoughts and action. Embrace everyone, everything unconditionally, knowing that at some level you have caused this. And rather than fighting it, embrace it. Allow it to absorb into your consciousness. Then create sounds that can manifest the reality the way you want. Yoga is all about self-empowerment, self-actualization, self-realization. You are the creator of this universe that you see around you. All of this universe emerges from you and will merge into your consciousness. Om Namah Shivaya. Om Namah Shivaya. Om Namah Shivaya. In the classes that will follow, we will analyze this step by step. We'll take this idea more into detail. We'll explore mantras. We'll explore the importance of sound. We'll explore the importance of the throat, what chakra is associated with it, and how the throat, the sound vibrations help us access higher dimensions and truly turn our spiritual philosophy into reality. All that bridges the gap between philosophy and reality is practice, sadhana. If you are able to get that sadhana in place, and if that sadhana or practice is a holistic lifestyle, not necessarily 2 hours in the morning and 2 hours in the evening, then that philosophy or a matter or a concept, if you will materialize into a real experience. And you will never have to look back. You'll never have to ask somebody for endorsement. You will know in your heart that you have opened a door to infinity. May we all be guided in this path. And may we continue to explore with an open mind, with childish innocence, childish excitement, at the same time, with firm convictions to begin our practice and make our life more meaningful. Thank you as always for joining the class. We shall end this class with 1 Om and 3 Shantis. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti.